You can make it louder. It's nice.
Может, погромче. Красивая песня.
So you can make it louder. It's nice.
Давайте погромче.
Maybe. You need to tell me how to lead one or how to lead the other, because when the interpretations are working online, it becomes loud. So we need to lead
the speaker. I think they're working on the sound. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That should not be happening. Yes.
Yes. Is that okay for the sound? Yes, it's fine. Tina, you are hearing me?
Тина, вы слышите меня?
No, she's not hearing yet. Let's see if she's hearing now.
Слышно?
Tina, you are hearing me? Great. Carlos, you are hearing me? You are hearing me? You are hearing the translations? Wonderful. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Before we begin, thank you. We have not started broadcasting yet, so we are broadcasting now. Fantastic. So thank you.
Great. Hi, everyone. We fix it. And this is really a good exercise just to tell us we can fix any problem that we create as human beings. So this is not a problem. This is just a challenge and examples. So good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to thank our technical teams and also our communication teams that put all this press conference together. And I would like also to thank all the journalists that join us online and in person to listen from the Indigenous Peoples 7 socio-cultural regions. Thank you for your trust and thank you for relaying our messages to the rest of the world. We are really very grateful. My name is Hindu Umaru Ibrahim. I am from Chad. I'm from Bororo people. And I'm the chair of the UN Permanent Forum of Indigenous Issues. But this is not the most important. The most important is I'm going to moderate this press conference today by the trust of all my brothers and sisters from the 7 socio-cultural regions. So to organize these events, it took us 2 years to talk with the regional representative from the 7 socio-cultural regions, to meet over Zoom, to meet in person, and to see what will be the just transitions for our world. As Indigenous peoples, we are the guardian of the ecosystems. We are the guardians of our planets. The transitions of our planet must be guided by our wisdom, by our knowledge. So far in this world, Indigenous peoples are the best ones who are protecting each and every ecosystems, from the glaciers to the mountain, to the desert, to the savannas, to the forests, to the oceans, to the rivers, lake. We are the best ones who are protecting it. And still, we are using all our knowledge. and having the world destroying those ecosystems in the name of the solutions created climate change, loss of biodiversity, land degradations, sickness around the world, conflict over the resources, and so on. Of course, all the world wanted to fix it, and they talk about the just transitions. So the just transitions, it's not only about the critical minerals to the clean or green energy, but it is also around food, around medicine, around land, holistically as indigenous peoples. So those ideas brought us together to say what will be the positions of indigenous peoples on the just transitions. What will be our responsibility to guide the world, to tell them if you want to have it just, it's have to be human right based approach, indigenous people right based approach. It's have to be equitable, inclusive, and respectful, not only for today, but for the upcoming generations. So that's why we meet there. Since the 8th, we meet here with all the regions present. We work over our different challenges, solutions have been presented by the regional representatives, from the women to the youth to our elders, as you can see. And of course, even in one family, you cannot agree on one topic. So being from different regions, different languages, is not easy, but we work on it. And that's what is happening right now in the big room. People are agreeing in what is the just transitions mean for the indigenous peoples. What is our visions? What will be the principles that we can set? Which kind of action for implementation that we will propose? So those will be the point of the outcome of our gathering. It's not going to be the final documents as a Bible. It's going to be a working, ongoing, and action document that we will be proposing to the world. For now, to 3 minutes. You are not hearing me, Tina? No? See? Okay. I will love to give 2 to 3 minutes each of our regional representatives to give us the discussions that we are having. I will open it. Who have a question? I would like now to start by the end of the tables. So for those who do not speak Spanish or Russia, please prepare from the journalist especially to get your headset, because we do have interpretations online, and that will help you to follow up on the statements of my brothers and sisters. Carlos, please introduce yourself and tell us about what you feel on these just transitions in these 2 days, 3 days actually, gathering. And please use the microphone, then the interpreters can hear you.
Buenos días. Represento a América Latina y el Caribe, pero en esta cumbre somos pueblos indígenas de las 7 regiones y somos una familia muy grande y hemos debatido, visionado respecto primero de nuestros problemas en una coyuntura de transición energética y que justamente esa transición energética no signifique una transición injusta para nuestros pueblos indígenas, porque los pueblos indígenas tradicionalmente hemos sido víctimas del colonialismo, del genocidio y la transición verde o la transición energética justamente viene con esas amenazas en contra de nuestros territorios, de la integridad de nuestros pueblos, la amenaza a la vida, a todo lo que es el sistema de vida, no solamente la vida humana, sino también el biocidio, el ecocidio. Yo vengo de un continente donde el mayor pulmón del mundo, como es la Amazonía, ha sido incendiada por intereses ajenos a nuestros pueblos y la Amazonía ha sido tradicionalmente nombrada como la casa grande de todos y esa casa grande de todos hoy se está incendiando. Entonces, en ese marco, para nosotros es una preocupación de cómo enfrentar este proceso de transición que tiene como meta extraer los famosos minerales de transición. Vengo específicamente de una zona que se llama Triángulo del Litio porque está conformado por grandes salares que están sobre los 4.000 metros sobre el nivel del mar, que es hábitat de mi pueblo. Yo soy Joya y estamos los Joyas en Bolivia, el Perú, Chile y la Argentina, donde están los grandes salares. Y eso es una amenaza contra nuestros sistemas de vida, nuestra ganadería, agricultura y también el agua que nos proveemos cotidianamente para nuestras necesidades. Y por otro lado, a pesar de que nuestros gobiernos se han comprometido con respetar los derechos de los pueblos indígenas que han sido establecidos hace tiempo en el convenio 169 de la OIT, en la Declaración de las Naciones Unidas sobre los Derechos de los Pueblos Indígenas a partir del año 2007 y últimamente a partir del año 2016 contamos con una declaración americana sobre los derechos de los pueblos indígenas donde se dice que nuestro derecho a la libre determinación pues es viable a través de la consulta, a través del consentimiento libre previo informado. Pero sin embargo, hasta el momento no se ha hecho ninguna consulta a nuestros pueblos ni a las comunidades que viven alrededor de los grandes salares. Es más, esos salares están siendo apropiados por el sector privado, por las grandes empresas transnacionales y estamos viviendo amenazas contra nuestra integridad y en el caso argentino la conflictividad es mayor. Lo mismo ocurre en Centroamérica, en México, donde también se han identificado reservorios de litio, pero en Centroamérica tenemos minas de cobre, de los minerales de transición, que igualmente, pues tradicionalmente afectan a los sistemas de vida de los pueblos indígenas. Esta es una oportunidad para nosotros de elaborar una declaración, pero una declaración que señala primero el marco de nuestros derechos, segundo, las perspectivas que tenemos sobre una transición justa. Consideramos que la transición justa debe estar enmarcado en nuestros derechos, derechos que nos han sido reconocidos después de una larguísima lucha, pero también después de identificar el problema del colonialismo, lo que se llama la doctrina del descubrimiento, que es una amenaza que se cierne sobre nuestros pueblos desde el lejano siglo XV. Entonces, también queremos expresar que nuestra visión de transición justa está basado en la defensa de nuestras formas de vida, en la concepción que tenemos de la vida y el ordenamiento jurídico territorial que tenemos en nuestros pueblos, porque tenemos gobiernos tradicionales, ejercemos el autogobierno y solicitamos a los medios que estas posiciones que estamos tomando como pueblos indígenas en el mundo sean difundidos, sean conocidos, que sean respetados por el sistema internacional, las Naciones Unidas, sus distintos foros, pero también por los estados, especialmente por el sector privado. Entendemos que los estados tienen la obligación de proteger nuestros derechos, principalmente el derecho a la vida. Segundo, que el sector privado, las empresas, están obligadas a respetar las normas, pero en muchos casos, como en América Latina y el África, las empresas transnacionales tienen mucho más poder que los estados y entonces ahí estamos ante la amenaza de esas empresas. Nosotros exigimos que se cumplan esas normas y que finalmente que se restituya nuestros derechos, que se restaure nuestros ecosistemas. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, hermano. As you hear from Latin America, let's move to Russian region.
Благодарю, председатель. Я представляю Российскую Федерацию, в которой проживает более 200 коренных народов. Из них 40 — это те, которые имеют малое количество, малое число. И мы в большей степени находимся на обширных территориях, которые представляют большой интерес для промышленного освоения. И последние годы идет такая эскалация, то есть увеличение промышленного освоения именно на территориях коренных народов. Это очень беспокоит, вызывает порой возможность говорить на таких площадках, которые вот проходят сегодня. Саммит, на самом деле, это очень замечательная идея для выражения наших мыслей, для создания того итогового документа, который может быть использован для защиты прав коренных народов, на чьих территориях находится большое промышленное освоение. Ну, конечно же, справедливый переход, он важен, он нужен, потому что это достойный доход и обеспеченная жизнь. Но давайте смотреть правде в глаза, насколько сегодня он реально реализуется. Я проживаю в Российской Федерации и прекрасно понимаю и вижу, как сегодня это происходит на наших территориях. То есть мы участвуем в различных мероприятиях, которые посвящены с бизнес-компаниями, разговоры ведем. Но это больше идет такое, как номинальное присутствие, потому что даются готовые документы, подписываются готовые соглашения, и порой это заменяется такими практиками, как большой фестиваль, большой концерт, где представлены коренные народы, которые показывают, как они счастливы и как у них все замечательно. На самом деле у нас нет школ, у нас нет больниц, у нас нет звучания родных языков, так, как это могло бы звучать. Но я хочу вернуться к саммиту и к тому, что сегодня происходит. Вот мы работаем 3 дня, и 3 дня мы видим одновременно единение и одновременно, что каждый имеет право выразить свою мысль, свое пожелание. И это все учитывается. Это вот та площадка, которая мне напомнила мое историческое детство, и как к нам приезжают различные этнографы и пишут такие исследования, что когда собираются коренные народы, например, саами, непонятно, они ругаются, они кричат, они что-то там выясняют, и кажется, что они дерутся между собой, то есть они не дружные, они ссорятся. И в итоге они выходят и придают нам какое-то решение. И мы не понимаем, как это происходит, почему они вот тут ругались, ссорились, и вдруг выдают правильное решение. И тем самым они недоумевают, что, оказывается, думают, что мы все не дружны между собой, что мы не можем договориться. Часто эта форма используется для того, чтобы нами манипулировать. И вот эта площадка сегодня, она должна как раз показать наше единство, что мы можем одной целью, одним документом показать, насколько мы сильны и насколько мы можем говорить о наших проблемах, понимая эти проблемы и предлагая новые решения, которые в дальнейшем будут работать на развитие и на сохранение наших народов, наших территорий. Мне кажется, это очень важно, и это очень нужный момент. Наша российская делегация обсуждала еще один момент, что да, мы обсуждаем сегодня здесь на саммите документы, встречаемся, разговариваем. А что дальше? Будут ли еще такие саммиты? И нужно ли нам это продолжать? Мне кажется, это тоже вопрос один из важных, потому что если мы принимаем определенный документ, мы, значит, должны знать, закладывать, что нам необходимо в дальнейшем еще встречаться и что-то дополнять, потому что мир не стоит на месте, он меняется. И нам надо быть вот этим единым целым, который показывает, насколько мы можем решать и принимать решения. Мне кажется, это очень важно, и очень важный саммит для наших коренных народов. Несмотря на то, что у нас бывает, происходят какие-то обсуждения, может быть, несогласия, но в конце концов мы приходим к одному решению. Это очень правильно. Вот как-то так.
Спасибо, Tina. Like before I move to the North America, may you introduce yourself, please? Because you didn't do that. Just introduce yourself. I'm saying, may you introduce yourself, please? Because you didn't do that from the beginning. Yeah, presentes. Sí.
Ой, sorry. Меня зовут Валентина Совкина. Я представитель народа Саами, который проживает на Кольском полуострове в Российской Федерации. И в данный момент я еще представляю коренные народы на постоянном форуме коренных народов ООН. Являюсь избранным представителем от коренных народов России.
Thank you, Tina. So for all the rest of the speaker, if you can just say your name, your community, and of course you are representing your region, so that will be good. Yes, if you can pass the microphone to our elders. So let's pass to the North America now. Please, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you to all of you in here and all of the listeners that are out there, to all of our relatives. I am Petuch. My colonizer name, my surname is Gilbert, Petuch Gilbert. I am from Akuma, Agbo Mestata. In my language, Petuch is my birth name. Agbo Mestata. I am Akuma. Akuma is one of the indigenous communities now in the state of New Mexico within the United States of America. And when we say, as indigenous people say, hello, all my relatives, It includes all of humankind. It includes all of the plants, animals in the natural world. It includes our Mother Earth and all the sentient beings created by the Great Spirit. All these are our relatives. So our greeting is always all my relatives, all of our relatives, which is inclusive of everybody, every human being. The things that I say here is my own observations and statements on behalf of Indigenous peoples. Oftentimes, when we attend these kinds of meetings and we're selected to be so-called representatives, I'm not a representative of North America. I am not even a representative of my own tribe. I speak on behalf of my tribe. I speak on behalf of Indigenous peoples on our collective rights to be human beings, to be a member of the human family. So that's the kind of observations that I give. And of course, unfortunately, as Indigenous peoples, we are dominated now in a colonial system, a colonial rule of white supremacy. And we have to now somehow coexist within this framework. So even the word just transition, I kept thinking and thinking, just transition, does that mean and imply that I'm going to somehow justly transition into colonial domination? That I'm simply going to exist within this system of rule and order of humankind, which is now really manipulated and managed by this white supremacy system, whether it be capitalism or the global social order that's now in place before all of us. Even as I talk about trying to live in a manner of peaceful coexistence, it is somehow meaning that we have to collaborate, communicate, cooperate in the system that's before us today. So we attend, as Indigenous peoples, we attend these kinds of meetings in order to support the positions that we hold as Indigenous peoples, to continue what our Great Spirit gave before us and what we took on as a community, communal responsibility for the health, care, and well-being of all of Mother Earth's creations. Our own stories that in my community is that we took on the responsibility in communing through prayer for the health and care of all humankind and all of the natural elements that are out there today. And we continue that today. So what I see in the room here are the Indigenous peoples expressing this very similar way of life, that we carry on the responsibility of trying to live together in a manner of peaceful coexistence. So today, even as Indigenous peoples carry on this struggle, even as we continue the battle, the warfare that we're still in against For example, the United States of America, who occupies our homeland today. That we are expected to live under this colonial domination. That we are expected to be just behave, be citizens of the United States of America without free, prior, informed consent. So that is the challenge that Indigenous people face, and that we're in the room next door in espousing the principles that we believe is a rightful human right to be who once we were, as sovereign, as independent, as self-determining peoples, of which we no longer are because of colonial domination or because of the white supremacy system. That's why I take on this way of speaking on behalf of we as Indigenous peoples. Our right to be who we can be, our right to be who we are today, and this challenge that we all are moving forward into the future as a human family. One of my prophecies at home was ordained, was told that we will come back together as a mother to a child. And not so much as an adult telling the children how to behave or how to live, but meant that as a human family, we have to decide together our future. And unfortunately, as Indigenous peoples, we are telling our lived stories of who we are as Indigenous peoples, or the principles that we have held for millennia. And that we be allowed as a human right to continue that way of existence. And the challenge really is before all of us, how do we coexist peacefully? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much from North America. As we all know, of course, we don't have long time, and we wanted also to give chance to the journalists to ask us questions. So I just wanted to remind everyone to stick to, do not be long. I wanted to have justice among all of you, but go to the most important place. Thank you so much. Let me move to Asia now.
Good afternoon, the family of Indigenous people worldwide. My name is Rukith Anna Jampong. My mother is called Bintang. So if you are from a country in my state, Sarawak, you would know that Jampong is a species of bird, and Bintang means star. So from there, I still believe that I am connected to nature. But unfortunately, I have a different name. They give me different name, Rukith, which is totally out of the norm. But anyway, I'm glad I have a name. I am a Longhouse chief back home. I come from a race called Iban. The British call us headhunters, although we don't do that anymore these days because our land are headhunted. So we don't have time to hunt hate. But today, I speak on behalf of the Asian group, which is a very big responsibility because you all know There are almost 50 countries in Asia, and probably more than 260 million indigenous people, the highest concentration of IP in the world, if you would agree, or if the fact is correct. But anyway, I will just go straight to what we have discussed among the group. Yeah, I'll go straight to the issues of we are law-abiding people, but the law of the country in our states are not fair and not just to us. So we rely a lot, we talk a lot about outside instrument, and we see that UNDRIP is probably the only instrument which may be able to help us. Although it is only a declaration of which our country take advantage of, they do not legislate. So which means to say they can say, oh, that's good, we ratify, but it's not and never legislated until today. They refuse to. So that is a big challenge to us. Brothers and sisters, I'm here today. I will say, despite the many Asian countries, I'm from Malaysia, but I talk on behalf of the Asian group. Many countries have adopted the UN Declaration, but there remain a stark gap between commitments and real-world action. This is what I mean by what I say. This persistent failure to implement UNDRIP effectively leaves the rights of indigenous people, our right, dangerously vulnerable and unprotected. Although UNDRIP has been embraced on paper, only a handful of Asian nations have taken the necessary steps to establish a robust legal framework that genuinely safeguards indigenous rights. This blatant disregard is unacceptable, especially given that Asia's most intact ecosystem and remaining biodiversity hotspots are intertwined with indigenous territories. So indigenous people are not merely inhabitants of these areas. We are the front-line defenders whose sustainable practices are key to maintaining climate resilience and conserving biodiversity. But an imminent threat is accelerating that the erosion of indigenous land and land rights and scramble for resources needed for the global transition to renewable energy. These resources, often located within indigenous territories, are being extracted without free, prior, and informed consent, leading to rampant land grabbing and exploitation. This violation not only perpetuates a cycle of human rights abuses, but also strikes at the heart of indigenous culture, language, and identities. Indigenous women, youth, and children suffer the most from this relentless assault on their land and dignity. So we categorically reject any form of climate action or energy transition that sideline the rights of indigenous people. A transition that disregards our rights is it's not just unjust, it is unsustainable and hypocritical. It perpetuates the same extractive, profit-driven mentality that has exploited our land for centuries under the guise of development and progress. Asian indigenous people will not stand by and allow history to repeat itself. We demand that government and stakeholders overhaul the way energy projects are conceived and implemented in our territories. Indigenous rights and voices must be at the forefront of every decision, or the global fight against climate change is destined to fail. We call on the media to expose these injustices and amplify our voices. The world needs to understand that any energy transition project carried out on indigenous land without respect for our rights, dignity, and sovereignty is nothing more than just a continuation of colonization. This cannot and will not be tolerated. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, brother, for your statements. Let's move now to Pacific. Don't forget to introduce yourself.
Kia ora, everybody. Greetings and good health to you all. My people and Ngāti he kairo ki Tongariro. My nation is Māori. My country is Aotearoa, New Zealand. Our ancestors were navigators. They navigated the Pacific, the ocean between Taiwan, as north as the Bering Strait, to the west coast of the Americas, and slowly over the generations, our people, our ancestors occupied every island in the Pacific. The last island to be occupied was Aotearoa, known as New Zealand. We trace our ancestry back to Tahiti 34 generations ago. Before that, we can trace our genealogical lines 400 generations. It takes our people 9 hours to recite. We call that our sacred thread. It's what connects us to the beginning of time. Now we're here. We first came and participated to be a voice for our people. But as we sat amongst other Indigenous peoples, we realized that we were part of something bigger. The Indigenous peoples of this world have a multitude of languages, of cultures that reflect the biodiversity of this planet. But just as the flora and fauna have a common link, so too do we. We come from a sacred thread, uphold a sacred legacy. We are connected through kinship to every part of existence, to all of you, to everything that exists in this world. The power of us sitting together. It's hard to explain. In spite of the huge amount of difference and diversity amongst Indigenous peoples of the world, you quickly understand how insignificant you are. To understand your significance, you must understand your insignificance. And someone asked, how do you explain that? I said, we are a snowflake. But without that one snowflake, there's no glaciers, there's no rivers, there's no... So being part of that makes us part of the bigger picture. We understand each other without language. We feel each other. In spite of multiple intergenerational trauma, spiritual trauma, cultural trauma, social trauma, and physical trauma, we're still here. Strange. I don't know how often this happened. You reach out and touch each other, and we are one. It flows through us, our veins, our hearts. There's no bureaucracy that exists that can diminish the power of us just being who we are. Are we what our ancestors were? No, we're not even a shadow. Our just transition is to one day get back to that. To a place where our mother and our father go back to a world of reciprocity, mutual respect, and love. So it's an honor to sit here with our regions. We're not countries, we're not governments. We're the environment that gave birth to us. We're the descendants of our ancestors. And within us, we carry the stories that bind us as one. For this summit, whatever the words are used, those words are flavored by us, so they have mana. Those words are painted by us, so they have mana. And when our ancestors left Tahiti and ended up in Aotearoa, it was pretty cold. It's a little bit like Switzerland, cold winters, hot summers. We weren't used to that. We're tropical. So how did we survive the 34 generations? We have a saying. Nā te hau mata ka wiri te kiri, nā te wiri o te kiri ka piri te tangata, nā te piri o te tangata ka ora ai tātou. From the cold wind, from adversity, it causes our bodies to shiver. When our bodies shiver, we come together for warmth. And when people come together for warmth, we will survive. We are the people that have come together for warmth to face this new adversity. So bless you all and thank you.
Kia ora koutou. For you here from Pacific, let us move now on to my two past sisters. Let me give the floor to my sisters from Arctic.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Nakumiak, and I am Inuvialuit from the Canadian Western Arctic Inuit people. So a part of our delegation, we have Inuit and as well as our Sami people. And this week, we gathered to address the critical intersection of climate change and the rights of Indigenous peoples, particularly in the Arctic region, which has warmed nearly 4 centigrade degrees in some regions. For time immemorial, our peoples have cultivated deep, respectful, and reciprocal connections with our lands, waters, and ice, passing down invaluable Indigenous knowledge across generations. The Arctic faces unique and cumulative impacts that have created historic and ongoing inequities imposed on our lives, especially in the face of climate change. We reaffirm our rights as recognized in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, especially our right to self-determination. It is vital to clarify that climate change and the so-called just transition cannot serve as a justification for infringing upon our distinct rights as Arctic Indigenous peoples. We emphasize the urgent need to confront the ongoing encroachment of our lands, the extractions of our resources, and the renewable energy initiatives conducted without free, prior, and informed consent. Inuit have been warning the rest of the world for decades about the impacts of climate change, seeing it firsthand. Our Inuit knowledge needs to be recognized and utilized equitably and ethically, and the unique circumstances of the Arctic across Inuit Nunaat must be reflected in international, national, and regional mitigation approaches. Otherwise, these actions threaten our cultures, our way of life, and our very existence as Indigenous peoples. In Sápmi, they have come to learn the hard way that sustainability does not end colonialism. In the name of saving the planet, the Nordic states are digging into the mountains, drilling holes into the rocks, and making it impossible for the Sápmi to practice their traditional livelihoods. What is being showed to the world as a shift to sustainability is just Nordic colonialism hiding behind a new kind of mask. The Arctic region asserts our commitment to a future that is equitable, ethical, and just, one that recognizes our knowledge and wisdom as equal partners in all decisions made that impact the Arctic and elsewhere. Together, we strive for a just transition that honors our sovereignty and critical role for our youth, ensuring a sustainable and vibrant future for the next generations to come. And we ask, if saving the world from climate devastation comes at the expense of sacrificing the Indigenous world to fulfill the needs of colonial states, then what are we fighting for? What future do we have? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister. So we hear from Arctic. Let us hear from our last but not the least one, African region. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Sharon Siamanta from the Maasai community, representing the African region. And looking at this just transition, what really is it? In the midst of this climate change and the climate crisis, there's been a lot of pressure, not only in moving to green economy. We've had issues with carbon credits. We've had issues in our agriculture. And all this is impacting the Indigenous people, our livelihood, our biodiversity. What is it for us as we move to the green economy? There's a lot of pressure in our lands in the need for the minerals that are going to help in the just transition. But what other people don't see is, what is it for the Indigenous people? What is it for our lands, our sacred places, our environment? What is it going to, what just is it to all of us? Africa being one of the continents with the minerals that is going to help in the just transition, moving to a green economy. Currently, we still have injustices in where we are producing the minerals in the Indigenous lands. Each and every person in the Indigenous land is being affected, from women, children. We even have our men, from abductions, killings, gender-based violence, poor healthcare, exposure to pollution that is going to affect our generation from now and in the future. And being in this summit, really, give us an opportunity to connect as Indigenous people and to see how these effects is affecting us and be able to create principles and protocols that is going to guide and protect our livelihoods, our Indigenous knowledge, because we need continuity. This is just not the end of Indigenous people and Indigenous land. We need to have a continuity of our cultures throughout the generation. If each and every person needs to know what happens in Asia, Africa, Pacific, Latin America. We need to have a continuity of our knowledge, our technologies, and as we move to just transition, it needs to be free, it needs to be informed. We need participation as the Indigenous people. We need to be on the table as governments are creating the policies. What is it in for the Indigenous people and the land? What the Indigenous people want is not just what you want. What do we want? And in case we want to know also what are the impacts of this effect or these projects that are going to be implemented in our lands in all aspects. And for it to be just, there needs to be recognition of the Indigenous people. They need to know that Indigenous people, who we are, they need to understand our culture and our traditions before they get into our land. They need to tell us the impacts, realistic impacts of these projects before the implementation. What are the restoration measures? How do we compensate us if they get into our lands? And I'll end with the land degradation and restoration. If we're going to pollute our waters and land, we need to clean it. We need to respect us. We need to put us on the table. It needs to be just. And let it just be just, not only by words, but just in actions. And we need to be involved as Indigenous people because we need to protect our heritage. We need to protect our biodiversity. We need to protect us as Indigenous people because we are owners of the earth, and the earth owns us also. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all our 7 socio-cultural regions that you hear from them. You hear their own history, personal history, or the region's history, community's history about the impact, but they all talk about we need to respect the rights of Indigenous peoples. We need our self-determinations. We need to be included into the decisions making. We need to be sharing all the benefits, but we need to be the one who are protector of the nature. And mostly, as he said, we are protecting the earth, but we are going to the earth. And that's really what we know. All the private sectors or governments, they can be rich, they can be whatever, they will go back to this earth. So better to respect it from now, as Indigenous peoples call it. I'm going to open it to the journalists. If they have any questions, and if you allow me, the people in person, I wanted to ask those who are online if there is anyone who wanted to ask any questions first, and then I can come back to those who are in person. So I can take 2 or 3 questions, so then I will get back to the response. If that is acceptable, if the tech team can help me to look at if there is any request from online, please.
There doesn't seem to be any hands. So I would recommend moving to the in the room, and we have interpreters for 5 more minutes, but we have a backup if we go over a little bit.
Great, thank you. So by the time, if the people's online, you can also type your questions. So then with our technical team, we will be sure that to connect to you with the regions or to send the written response. So let me move to those who are in person with us. If you have any questions, please use the microphone, and we have also the interpretations. Pour qui veut la parole? Oui, madam. So I give you my mic here. And introduce yourself, please.
Hello everyone, I'm Isabel Pfaff from Swiss National Radio, and I wanted to ask, I found the presentations of everyone very interesting, but I wanted to ask if you have also formulated like concrete things that you want from the public sector, from the private sector, that go maybe beyond the free, prior and informed consent, a concept that is already existent, but maybe you have also created in the last few days something new or something that goes beyond that. I would be interested in that. If I may, I have a second question. Will be the conference on biodiversity in Colombia in 2 weeks, and I wanted to ask maybe if I don't know if you have a common position, but maybe some of you. What do you expect from this conference, and if you have any hopes with respect to the conference?
Thank you very much for your 2 questions. Anyone else in the room? Okay, let me give you the summary, then I will ask my brothers and sisters to add. From your first questions, yes, what gathered us here is to get a concrete way forward in positions to move on these just transitions. My brothers and sisters are working in the room right now to finalize our common positions, to tell the world what is our vision, to tell the world what the just transitions mean for us, and mostly to give the principles. And principles mean our red line that the private sectors, the public sectors, or whatever person that wanted to do green economy, renewable energy, or whatever project that they wanted to follow under the just transitions, to respect it. Those are like not negotiable for us if they wanted the world to be in better features, as my sister from Arctic say. We will be finalizing these documents, and we will be more than happy to share it with all of you who attended this press conference, but also to those who didn't attend, to make this paper accessible to everyone to see what indigenous peoples decide on it. In your second questions to Cali is coming soon, but it's not only Cali. We are going to have 3 COPs this year, starting by biodiversity in Cali, but also the desertifications in Baku, then the land desertifications, the climate in Baku, the desertifications in Saudi Arabia. The 3 COPs coming in the 3 months are very important for indigenous peoples. For decade, we are calling them to do the synergy between the 3 COPs in order to respect the numbers, because protecting the nature is holistic. It is not in silo. On silo response, it cannot going to work. So one of the message from the just transitions, it's also tackling ecosystem base. That's why when you hear from all the colleagues here, they talk from the glaciers to the savannas, to the desert, to the forests, to the oceans, all together that we wanted to have the response. So for us going to Cali, where we wanted to put the COP, under day, living in harmony with the nature, building a peace with nature. That's what the Colombian government is calling for that COP. So we are the best one who know building the peace with nature, and we are going there to tell them if they really wanted to build peace with nature, they must listen to indigenous peoples, they must implement what indigenous peoples are requesting to them. So those are the response from my side, and let me ask my brothers and sisters from the regions if they wanted to add. Anyone wanted to add from the 2 questions before we close? Thank you. So let's hear from my brother who is, the COP is happening in his regions. And then we can close.
Lost interpreters, but we have some support, so I will be.
So you can sit next to the mic.
Es un desafío que enfrentamos como pueblos indígenas de las 7 regiones. Es mucho tiempo que tenemos esta oportunidad histórica de establecer una línea de pensamiento y de acción. Entonces esperemos que a partir de hoy, teniendo una declaración conjunta, tengamos una perspectiva que podamos defender en los distintos foros mundiales, las COP a las que se ha referido la hermana Hindu, pero también en las negociaciones a nivel local, ¿no? Con nuestros estados y con las empresas. Eso es una oportunidad muy grande en la que nosotros vamos a poder actuar al unísono, no de forma dividida. Y justamente el colonialismo lo que ha buscado siempre es incidir donde no tenemos posibilidades de expresar una sola voz, un solo pensamiento. Y hoy hemos venido aquí para tener una línea de acción. Y esa línea de acción es la que va a salir con el documento que están los hermanos aún trabajando.
So Carlos said, there was a long way to be together on this way, and now they are doing a joint declaration, and also they have they will define the local challenges that they are facing and present them to private sector and states. And the important thing is that there is a unified vision that they are jointly being working on and presenting in a declaration today. And there will be lines of action that should coming out from this document. Thank you very much, Brother Carlos. And I wanted also to remind you, on the afternoon after the lunch, we are going to have an open dialogue. This open dialogue include those who will come from the UN. We invite people from the World Economic Forums. We invite people from the business, from the embassies. So they are all going to come. And we will be moderating and open discussions with them, present to them our documents, not asking them to input in our document because it is our position, but we will present that to them and we will discuss with them around how we can really move into just transitions. So in this note, I would like to thank all the journalists that following us online, and also thanks those who really take the time to come in person here. And I would like to thank all the regions that are here, from my elders to my younger sisters who are here with us, and thanks the technical team, the interpreters, and our com team. So we will be sharing all the outcome document, and if you have any follow-up, please send us a message through the same channel of our communication team. If it is to individual or to the regions, we will make sure to give them information and to get back to you. If you want to have connection, feel free also to contact us. We will be happy to give you someone from the regions to respond to any of the questions. We are counting on you to take our voice out and to help us to make these documents to be listened by those who are not here, to make our world a better place. Thank you so much. Have a good lunch.